the setup of our system constitutionally kind of adds to this uncertainty. So there's a lot of talk, as there was in the 2016 election, about this thing called the Electoral College. And no, people, it is not a university. This is a group of electors who actually will act to elect our president here. And there is this idea, right, that if you're having a popular vote, that that's the leader who should take all. But that's not how it works, and that's not how it has worked in 5 previous elections. And so there's some talk out there about, well, what is this Electoral College? How does it work? What would happen if there is an unclear result? And it's a pretty murky area of constitutional law with lots of fun variations to dive into. But in any event, I think that our system too is providing some of the uncertainty here as well.
Mary, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Let's break down what the Electoral College is a little bit more, because I think that this kind of weighs heavily in on, there's a large group of people who say, I don't vote because my vote doesn't matter anyways. And then something happens, like what happened. I'm only 30, so I only remembered the Bush-Gore election, and now obviously the Trump-Clinton election, when it came down to the popular vote versus the Electoral College vote. So what is it exactly? How does it break down?
Sure. So the Electoral College, we have to go back to our Constitution, Article 2, Section 1, and it says that...
Whoa! What? Check that out. Impressive.
Well, hey, this is a very technical thing. So each state shall appoint in such a manner as the legislature thereof may direct a number of electors equal to the whole number of senators and representatives to which the state may be entitled in the Congress. So this provision here in our Constitution sets the ground for this body called the Electoral College. Initially, when it was set up, this is kind of fun history, the electors, as they're called, would cast a ballot for 2 presidents. It was not party specific. So the winner would be the president, and then the second up would be the vice president. But they changed that because it caused a huge historical battle and uncertainty. So now what happens is you have the electors that cast their votes. But here's where the system gets very interesting. So part of it was founded on the idea of our founders wanted the states to preserve some powers, and this idea of federalism. And so that replicates itself in the system because the states, not the feds or the Constitution, so the states themselves determine how the electors are going to get that position. So what ends up happening is that there's some differentiation among the states. 48 states have a winner-take-all system, but Maine and Nebraska are different. And why does this all matter? It matters because if there is ambiguity in the result, then there is an interplay between how to recount the elector votes. So, do you guys want to hear more?
Keep going.
All right. Good. So, if based on a very old law, we're talking 1887, if the results are unclear, then the House and Senate will have a joint session to count from each state alphabetically to certify a winner. But if results from a certain state are in dispute, then it will split into separate houses to decide which slate of votes to recognize. So the constitutional law experts in our country go into this in detail to try to provide a little more clarity.
Like Mary Piazza.
But it's just, it is definitely a little bit vague. So what happens then when you disagree? Well, guess what? The governor of the contested state will decide who wins. However, there is another wrinkle where the president of the Senate can force which results are accepted. Now, who's the president of the Senate right now? It's also a candidate running. So we have some different scenarios that could play out here. Maybe it will be a very clear result, not necessitating this diving into the 1887 law. But if we do go into there could be a few murky sessions that happen, and how much we will all know as the public, well, that's unclear too.
So I can't help but wonder, like, let's just run the scenario. We end up in that type of scenario, in that type of setup. And with all the social unrest that happened earlier in the year, I think there is a certain degree of the population that's very emboldened when it comes to social unrest. And that if that outcome isn't the way that group wants, that we won't see a fair amount of social unrest as a result.
Well, I think so, but I think this loops back to Chelsea's initial question, which is why vote? And the reason is vote so it's clear. Vote so your governor, if it comes into this type of scenario, vote so the governor of your state sees that there is a huge number that determines the winner, right? Vote so it counts. And I think that it's really important. In fact, one of the historical votes where the Electoral College, where this came into play, there was a difference in like one vote. So an elector vote. So, I mean, it really, really matters.